Hi, everyone. This is the Leadership at Heart podcast, and this is Heather Younger, your host. Employee experience is powered by emotions. Managers and or leaders within organizations get to choose which emotions they unleash from within the people they lead. Leaders, meaning supervisors or above in an organization, drive much of the positive or negative emotions by their actions or inactions, their words, or what they fail to say. When a manager chooses their words and their actions carefully, they exhibit great emotional intelligence. These managers are often thought of as leaders who care, or as I like to call them, leaders with heart. This special brand of leader drives engagement and loyalty simply by being themselves. Are these leaders perfect? Absolutely not. It is in their awareness and sharing of some of their imperfections that we realize their true brilliance. In this podcast, I ask you to see yourself in the stories my guests tell about times when they were not the best versions of themselves, but how they used their hearts to guide them to a deeper connection with their team and heightened leadership prowess. Before we move on and you hear the show today, I want to make a special request of you. I would like this podcast to remain successful and to increase the amount of listeners and people who are downloading it. And in order to do that, I need to get more reviews. So, for anybody who is a listener, and if you love the show, please go and do a 5-star rating and write a review anywhere you listen. And then screenshot that. If you screenshot that and you email me at heather@customerfanatics.com, heather@customerfanatics.com, then in the next show, I will give a kudos to you for doing so, because I actually am very appreciative of anybody who does write those reviews. And if you already have done so, thank you very much. Thank you for joining this show and enjoy this one. Hi, everybody. This is Heather with the Leadership at Heart podcast. And today I'm super thrilled to have Rhoda Banks on the call with me. She is someone I have been kind of paying attention to on LinkedIn. I think you all know I'm on there a lot. And she had been engaging with some of the posts that I put out there, and I just loved how she responded. She leads talent for another organization. I'm sure she'll touch on that as well. So welcome to the show, Rhoda.
Thank you so much for having me, Heather.
So where are you right now in your leadership journey?
Where am I in my leadership journey? I am intentionally trying to leave a legacy. And it's not just the way I lead at work, it's the way I lead in life. So everything that I do from here on out is done with intention. So I am purposely trying to manipulate in a positive way what people will say about me once my time has ended here on earth. So where am I in my journey is that I am passionate, super passionate about leading and developing others, helping them to reach their fullest potential. I have a reputation for that. I have several stories that support that I'm passionate about that. People who I've personally taken under my wing and given them opportunities and molded and coached and developed them, who've gone on to do greater things. That's where I'm at. I'm continuing to do that even at the organization that I'm at now, which is a agricultural financial company. I'm the head of talent management, and I've only been here 5 weeks. So I am already starting to start that journey here, and I'm passionate about people.
I love that. Where does your drive to lead come from? Does it, for a lot of us, it stems from maybe parents or previous leaders. I'm just curious to know, where does your drive come from?
I think my drive, it comes from multi-sources, but the primary driver is probably because of where I've come from and all the obstacles that I've had to overcome. So I'm the little girl that wasn't supposed to succeed. Grew up in a low-income housing project. I'm the oldest girl of 4 daughters. My mom was single, multiple men in and out of her life. I never met my father. He was killed when I was a young child, 5 years old. And many, many people I grew up with, I look back and they're still in the same place, physically and emotionally and mentally. They still live in the low income housing project. They don't have husbands. They're single parents. They look like my mom looked to me when I was growing up. The drive for me is that I didn't want that for myself. Two, I wanted to make my mom proud. I've always had a deep, genuine concern to help her, even though she's passed on, but I wanted to make her proud. So all those things, not wanting to be stuck in that environment, wanting to make her proud, meeting people in my life that saw talents and gifts that I had, and they encouraged me not wanting to let them down, all those things motivated me, including having my own kids and being an example for them as well as an example for others.
I love that. I just recently was blessed to read a few of your articles that were on LinkedIn, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I thought like it was just spot on to that TED Talk I just gave on transforming adversity and opportunity. And your mindset and the words that you used are so inspirational and just kind of a matter of fact. They glide over you, and if you don't take time to kind of process those, right, then it gets lost a little bit. And so for me, I was sitting there going, "Wow, this woman!" Like I was taking it all in. So I would definitely say if you're listening in to Rhoda, definitely check her out on LinkedIn, because I think her articles are really true and rich and deep. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
So what do you think the people that you lead, how do you think they describe your leadership style? What would they say that your leadership style is?
I actually have one young lady who we actually became friends, and when I hired her, she was an admin assistant, and she did not have a college degree. I encouraged her to go back to school, get a degree, which she did, and I promoted her up the chain, several different promotions. Today, fast forward, she is the owner of her own consulting firm. She's a first-time franchise owner for Fantastic Sam's. She's a serial entrepreneur, basically. She actually sent me a text one day when she was in Barbados with her family. And she said, "We're sitting here on the beach." And as I sit here on the beach, I reflect back over my life, and I recognize that I wouldn't be in this spot had it not been for you. I'm very humble. I don't like for her to say that. I usually say, it would have been someone else. God would have used somebody else. She said, no, most people are not obedient. And she said, you genuinely want others to win. So I believe that all the people who I've helped or who've had an experience with me would describe me in that way. Some tell me, Rhoda, you help anybody, even people that don't deserve it. And sometimes I do beat myself up because I learned that that's somebody I probably should not have helped. And then I beat myself up, and then I recognize, you know what, I'm not going to alter. That's just who I am. It's in my DNA to do that. And I think that's how people would describe me.
You know what? That's not a bad way to lead. I kind of feel like the same way. Like I know a lot of people protect their heart, particularly leaders in executive roles. They protect their heart. They have this shell around them, which unfortunately keeps them from truly bonding with their people and producing amazing results.
Right.
There are those leaders with heart who just don't really give a care. They care for their people first, and that's always going to be the first focus. And they're going to endear people to them much more richly, like you do. So, I love that. That's just such a great story. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So, is there ever been a time when you can think back over your leadership journey that you were not the best leader, like you just weren't the best version of you, and describe that story or that instant in detail if you could, and then what did you do to come out of it, kind of to become more enlightened that you are today?
And it probably was early in my leadership journey. I recall being promoted to a manager position and being promoted amongst my peers. And I had become friends with many of them. And one of my employees, we were really dear friends. And I remember during the first performance review discussion that I had with her, it was a really hard conversation that I needed to have, but I didn't have the courage to have it and be as transparent as I wanted to. So I hinted, and that was it. But then when I wrote up the summary from our review, I wrote what I truly felt and how I was really thinking, and she challenged me and said, Rhoda, this is not an accurate reflection of what we discussed, which was absolutely true. What
Mm,
I learned from that experience was I don't have to be afraid to have those tough conversations. And the reason why is because I've discovered the ultimate reason for leaders is to help others to reach their fullest potential, to be the best version of themselves, to build other leaders. In order to do that, you have to give them good feedback, honest feedback, and it's not always easy, and it's not always the positive stuff. So what I learned from that is, if you care about a person and you want them to be successful, you will give them that honest feedback. It's just like us as parents. We want to minimize or avoid hurt and harm from our kids as much as possible, so we're constantly giving them advice even when they don't ask. It's very similar in a leadership role, not saying that we are mom, but we are caretakers of their future and their career. So people mimic and adapt behaviors that they've experienced from others. I always have that in the back of my head as well. So I want to lead with the best intentions and give good experiences, and hopefully they will carry that forward. It's not easy to find really good leaders, and like you said, people who lead with heart. It's very few of us out there. So when you find them, our responsibility is to lead with heart and give those others that experience, and hopefully they will find it in themselves to mimic that instead of mimicking the bad behavior. So
mm.
that's what I learned from that, is to have those courageous conversations. If feedback is a gift.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Oh, that was gorgeous. I'm getting like chills right now. People who have listened to me a lot, they know I get a little fun, goofy with this kind of stuff. What I love the most, my most favorite part of what you said is, um, is that leaders are the caretakers
Yes.
of the future and the careers of their people. Oh,
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
beautiful. A caretakers.
Hmm.
I tell people, when people say, what's the most important thing about leadership? And I say, well, you have to first care,
Right.
caring. But this idea of caretaker does give you more of a sense of responsibility,
Stability. Yes.
of an obligation. So you take on that role, that kind of, the title, that may be a manager title, but in the end, it's people are looking up to you as a leader, and you
Yes.
are their caretaker. I mean, that is just beautiful.
Yeah.
That may just be the title of this show for you, because that's awesome.
I do take it personally. I do. You have
Well, you know what? I think it's good. I mean, I know there's
to.
some of it we have to, I consider myself kind of an empath, and I take a lot of things on that I probably shouldn't, but I've gotten a lot better over the years of trying not to get so emotionally invested that like I'm losing sleep and I can't eat. Because there's some people, I used to be really bad early on, and I'm to do a little bit better of compartmentalizing some of it, like being completely present with them,
Right.
moving past it, and it wasn't always there. But thinking about, just that idea of having those courageous conversations, being present, and sometimes you're present in their pain, right? You're present
Yeah.
right there with them. And I agree with you that it's actually a deeper sense of caring and love when you can have that conversation that lifts them up in the end.
Yes.
I love it. So,
Heather, I was thinking, I don't know why this came to me the other day. I was flying back from New York for work, and I had to terminate a young lady. It was my first termination ever as a leader. And I really hated to do it because I knew her personal life story, and she was a single mom with 3 kids and 1 kid with a disability. But I had been repeatedly giving her feedback, and the last incident was so egregious that HR recommended that we term her. And I knew it was impacting her life in a very deep way. And I actually, after the termination meeting, I actually cried about it. And this was maybe 20 years ago. One day, maybe 6 years went by, she called me. And she reminded me of who she was. And she said to me, Rhoda, I was too young and immature to recognize what you were doing. And what you were doing was helping me. And I just wanted to call to tell you thank you. And this was someone I terminated.
oh yeah. You know, I know you know this leading talent. There's so
Mhm.
much. What happens most times is that organizations
Mhm.
are looking at processes or technology or a strategy in a silo, and they're not looking at an overarching employee experience journey.
Yes.
And the journey starts before they start in your company, and it ends after they've left you.
Correct.
So, and there's all these touch points in between. So going back to the story of this layoff, I was laid off for the very first time, which has put me on the trajectory of where I'm at today as part of that TED
Mhm.
Talk story you heard. But during that process of the layoff, they made sure they gave me insurance, even though I didn't
Mhm.
have insurance with the company. They covered me for like 3 to 6 months. I can't remember afterward.
Mhm.
They just made sure, like along the way, they took care of me. So my very first article that I wrote on LinkedIn was about how to lay people off with dignity. That
Right.
the way you do it and how you deliver that makes
Mhm.
all the difference on that kind of the end result and their end impression of you and how
It really does.
you know. So you put
Mhm.
the eye on the dot on the eye of in her mind of what that experience looked like, and
Yes.
I think that's amazing. I mean, again,
Mhm.
these stories are really powerful in what you're sharing
Yes.
with us. So I appreciate that. So for when you I know you've only been here for about 5 weeks, and other roles where you've led people, what did you
Mhm.
do to develop deeper connections with them? For example, if there I don't know if you ever had a role where you had to travel a lot or they had to
Yes.
travel a lot. How did
Yes.
you reconnect with them? How did you bring things back to center for the team itself?
Yes, and even today in the role I'm in, most of my team is in New York, and I'm in St. Louis. So we're virtual, and I've had virtual teams before that were spread across multiple states. So I have innate and natural ability to connect with people. I believe it's a gift. I don't even recognize that I'm doing it, but I innately and genuinely want to know about them personally.
Mm.
So I ask about their personal lives in our one-on-one time, and I pay attention and I listen to and what people like, what they don't like. For example, I sit right by a coworker, and I noticed she was on back-to-back conference calls, and I could tell that she was not going to get a lunch break. So when I went down to the cafe, I intentionally thought about her, and I heard her say one day that she eats soup every day. She said, number one, because it's financially reasonable, and number two, is low in calories. So they have a soup of the day every day. So I got her a bowl of soup, and I brought it to her and put it on her desk. And after her conference call, she came to me. She said, I'll never forget that. She said, well, how did you know? Well, I remember her saying she likes soup, number one. Number two, I noticed that she was just busy back to back. It's innate. That's just who I am as a person. But I do that for people. So I have an employee who told me that she has twins and she's married and they're a 3-year-old, and I'll send a gift for those 3-year-olds. I have an employee who has a little girl that loves Mickey Mouse, and when I went to Orlando, I brought that employee's daughter back a little purse that had Minnie Mouse on it. So and it's just who I am, but I'm genuine with that. But I do connect with my employees on that level. I often tell leaders who I'm coaching is that you said it earlier, Heather, they first have to like you before they want to do anything to make you look good. They first have to like you. And when people feel that you're genuine, most of them will respond to that in a genuine way. Not everybody. Some people are just not built that way. And I've managed both, but I've actually told a team before my last job, I was there 9 years at a large healthcare system, and they asked me to be the interim of this one department, organizational development. And that team was very vocal about who they wanted as their leader. And so my boss asked in my presence, who do you want as your leader? Would you all like for Rhoda to be in this position permanently? And one of them actually said, I would prefer if you looked outside too. And I was kind of taken aback by that.
Hmm.
I ended up getting a position, and I said to the group, I know some of you are apprehensive for whatever the reason is. I said, but I promise you, in 6 months, you will have a different perspective of me than whatever your reason is now. One of the ladies I passed over for a manager position years ago. I didn't hire her, and I think she was holding that against me.
Oh.
But I had the opportunity to give her an experience. And one was, it had gotten back to me that her and another employee were bad mouthing. No matter what I did, they just found fault in it. And I said, and this employee that brought it to me was disturbed and didn't like how I was bringing the team down. I said, that's okay. I know how to have a conversation without even bringing that person up. So I connected with each one of them individually in our one-on-ones, and I said, I understand that you all have some concerns. Doesn't matter what you said, who said what. I said, but I asked you to do me a favor. And she said, what? I said, could you give me the benefit of the doubt like I'm giving you? Because I'm new to you and you're new to me. I say, I get it. You don't know what to expect. It's easy to criticize and to find others to criticize with that feels good because you're afraid or don't know of the unknown. I said, but I promise you, if you're fair with me, I'm going to be fair with you. And from that, she apologized. She told me she appreciated that, and we went on from there. 5 years passed by. I'm at another company. She gets laid off. She needs a job. Months and months and months she's looking. This person who shared that actually became the manager and was doing the hiring. And I recommended that young lady, and that manager struggled. She did not want to hire because of that. She knew what was said about me behind my back many years ago. And I said, you know what, I forgave her for that, and I encourage you to do the same. So we talked through that. I said, let's talk through it. I said, this person was a high performer. You can count on her to get things done, but I'm concerned about her character. I say I'm not gonna chalk that up to being her about who she is in total. I'm going to chalk it up to a learning experience and an opportunity for her to learn that you first need to experience people for yourselves and give them an opportunity and give them the benefit of the doubt. I say, I believe she learned from that. And so we agreed that we would give this person an opportunity.
Nice. That's great. Wow. There's just so much richness, so much to be learned here. And I am glad that, people are listening, and I know I'm writing notes pretty furiously right now. So for you, if you were to leave the listeners with maybe one or two pearls of wisdom as leaders that might be either struggling or at a crossroads or just need a little extra motivation to get through in that leadership role, which, as you know, takes a lot of responsibility, what might be the pearls of wisdom you would leave them with? One or two of them.
One or two. One, I know that it just pops up. Remember your why. Why are you doing this? There's a lot of misnomers in that people believe that leadership is about power. It's not as much about power as it is about influence. And influencing, not just influencing to be able to get things done, but influencing to be able to impact people in a positive way. Because employees will not stay if they are not pleased with their leader. You hear they're saying that employees quit leaders. They don't quit jobs. So remember your why. Why are you doing this? If you're in a position to lead others, I always say, if you're leading people and people are not your passion, you shouldn't be leading people. So that is one word of wisdom that I have. The other one is I am really big on figuring out what your purpose is in life and living it out loud. So if you believe that your purpose is to influence and impact others in a positive way through leadership, well, better way to be able to do that, then every decision you make, every action you take, everything you do should be aligned with that purpose. So remember your purpose and remember your why.
Love it. Wow, beautifully summarized. So for those who are listening who found great value in this, and again, I know I have, what a delight. I'm so just thrilled that I have you on here. Make sure that you share this, number one, share it loud and with everybody. And again, so for listeners, make sure you also go write a review wherever you listen. If you listen on iTunes or Apple in the Apple Podcasts or Spotify, write a review for it, share it everywhere, because that's how the algorithms work. It helps to ensure the success of the show when you do that. So the reviews are pretty powerful. Not just a heads up to everybody too. I'm working on building out a online community that's specifically for the Leadership with Heart community. So anybody who listens here consistently will be specially invited to have conversations and inside that community. So I'm super excited when that happens. I'll let you know exactly where to go for that. But Rhoda, thank you so much for sharing all of these words of wisdom, and just thank you for being a part of this Leadership with Heart community.
Well, thank you, Heather, for the work that you're doing and helping to highlight Leaders with Heart.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Leadership with Heart podcast. You can grab the show notes by visiting customerfanatics.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter.